From the outside, your life probably looks like it's going really well. You have a job, a relationship, goals, family, and friends. In your external world, everything appears to be moving forward exactly as it should. It looks like you're winning, but inside, something feels off. There's this quiet restlessness that never fully goes away. No matter how much you achieve, it's never quite enough. Maybe you're successful on paper, but you still feel unfulfilled. Maybe you're constantly busy, yet rarely feel at peace. Maybe you look like you have it all together, but deep down you know something important is missing, and you can't quite put your finger on what it is. Most people die with their gap still open. They reach the end of their lives, successful on paper, respected, even admired, but unfulfilled, a sense that they never fully lived as their true self. You weren't born this way. You were not born stressed, anxious, constantly proving yourself. So what changed? What I'm about to share is a simple but profound model for human life that applies to every single person on Earth. Whether you're a father, a mother, a student, an athlete, a CEO, a politician, a teacher, an artist, or anyone trying to navigate this world. It goes beyond culture, politics, and borders. It explains why that inner restlessness exists and how to finally close the gap. Here's the truth. Every single human being on this planet has an external self, an internal self, and a gap between the two. And that gap is the root cause of so much of the pain we feel in life. When you came into the world, there was no gap. There was no distance between who you were on the inside and how you lived on the outside. You were whole. In the SuitedMonk philosophy, your internal self we call the monk, your authentic self, your values, your purpose, and what truly matters to you. We call your outer self the suit, the version of you the world sees, your achievements, your roles, your personality, and your performance. But slowly, the gap began to form. As a child, you were fully aligned. You played freely in the present moment. You followed your joy and passion with total authenticity. Your monk and your suit were one. When I say monk, I'm not referring to Buddhism. It's simply a metaphor for your inner essence. As you grew older, you began to develop a sense of self. Your mind, your ego, and your identity started to form. This became your suit. You desperately wanted to be loved and accepted, so you naturally began seeking approval from your parents, teachers, and other authority figures. So when your parents, teachers, or friends expected you to behave a certain way, you started to adjust. Slowly, you started making decisions based on their expectations instead of your own truth. You smiled when you didn't feel like smiling. You stayed quiet when you wanted to speak. You chose good over true. Here's the key moment: the first time you made a decision based on someone else's expectations that was not aligned with who you really were, a small separation appeared. A tiny gap was created between your inner truth and your outer behavior. You made that choice to be loved, to be accepted, even when it came at the expense of your true self. But you needed love, so you kept doing it. And that disconnection hurt. It made you feel frustrated, sad, and unhappy because you were not living in alignment with your own truth. As a child, amongst the good things that happened, you also occasionally kept making decisions based on other people's expectations, trying to gain more approval, love, acceptance, and validation. And so the gap began to grow. Some of you may have experienced deeper wounds, such as abandonment issues or emotional unavailability, from a parent or other painful childhood experiences. Feelings such as guilt and shame all reside within the gap. Every suppressed emotion, every unresolved hurt, or every time you betrayed yourself for approval, growing the gap grew larger. Then, as you get a bit older, through adolescence, you silenced your inner voice to fit in with others. In young adulthood, you may have chosen a career, relationship, and life path that looked right to others and society instead of what felt true. Over the years, the gap became a hidden storage room for everything you suppressed: the guilt, the shame, the grief, the anger, the fear of not being enough. What do some people do when they have emotional pains? Many swallow their emotions, pretending they never happened. They try to suppress them, or they simply try to forget them. But those emotions didn't disappear. They accumulate within your gap. And that's why, even when your life may look successful from the outside, you still feel that restlessness. The gap is quietly whispering, "This is not really me." While not everyone experiences these emotions in the same way or to the same degree, for most people, the gap is where these tendencies live and eventually grow if not addressed. Later on in life, many people try to cover up the gap without even realizing what they're doing. Some turn to addictions such as alcohol or overwork, shopping, drugs, or endless busyness, or anything that helps them numb the quiet restlessness in their gap, just to pretend everything is fine on the outside. By middle age, if the gap was never addressed, it often becomes impossible to ignore. You may have achieved so much on the outside, yet inside you feel restless, empty, or even burned out. This happens with some business leaders who are successful at work, but feel restless on the inside. That is the gap screaming for your attention. Sometimes the gap stays quietly in the background for years, until life delivers a sudden wake-up call, a painful divorce, a job loss, or career burnout that forces you to stop running, a health scare, the sudden death of someone close, or simply one ordinary morning when you look around and think, "Is this really it?" In that moment, the emotional bubble cracks, and for the first time, many people begin searching for the version of themselves they left behind long ago. They begin to ask the questions they've been avoiding. Who am I really? What truly matters? Is there another way to live? But their monk is hidden under the weight of the gap, so it's difficult at first to find answers. You were never taught about the gap. No one ever gave you a map or a practical way to bridge it, so you did the best you could with what you knew. The old way of living was straightforward. Get a good job, become successful, build a family, and try to live a good life. But that model doesn't work anymore. Because no matter how much you achieve on the outside, if your inner world, your monk, is not aligned with your suit, you will never find real, lasting peace. But the gap doesn't stop with you. It affects all areas of your life. It shows up strongly in your relationships. When two people each carrying their own gap come together, their unhealed pain unconsciously triggers one another. Small disagreements become painful because you're not just arguing about the present. You're bumping into decades of unresolved hurt. When two people each carrying their own gap come together, something painful but predictable happens. Your buried monk stays hidden. Their buried monk stays hidden. And because both of you have unhealed pain sitting in your gap, you unconsciously tap into each other's wounds. You walk on eggshells because you don't want to push the other person's button, which triggers their gap. You don't just argue about the dishes or the schedule. You're actually bumping into decades of unresolved hurt, fear, and disconnection in the gap. This is why the same patterns keep repeating. In your love relationship, the same arguments, the same emotional distance, the same feeling of "we're together, but I still feel alone." Or the other person is emotionally not available or distant. With your children, you want to be close, but your own pain points in your gap makes it hard to truly see and meet them monk to monk. At work, teams become filled with unspoken tension, politics, and miscommunication because many people are protecting their own gap. This then has a negative effect on individual and company performance. And here's something many people quietly struggle with, but rarely say out loud. The unhealed wounds sitting in your gap act like a magnet. You unconsciously look for someone else to finally fill that emptiness, to make you feel safe, seen, or worthy. You hope another person can cover what's missing inside you. So you attract partners, friends, or colleagues who trigger the exact same old wounds. And the cycle repeats. And on a larger scale, this is how entire communities and societies stay divided. When millions of people are walking around with a small or big gap, and empathy and kindness becomes rare and conflict becomes normal, it's like many of us become disconnected from each other. The truth is simple. Gaps don't cancel each other out. They amplify each other. And here's the beautiful part. What if you could solve all these individual issues with one model? The SuitedMonk philosophy gives you a clear, practical 3-step process that bridges the gap and brings your inner world and outer world back into harmony. In step 1, you remove the negative effects that reside within the gap. This is a process of clearing. You gently release the old emotional weight you've been carrying, such as the traumas from childhood, past relationships, the fears that still sit with you, the limiting beliefs, and any unspoken pains hidden inside your gap. For the first time in years, those emotions stop controlling your thoughts, your decisions, and your peace. You can finally wipe it clean and feel lighter, clear, and mentally and emotionally more free. In step 2, once your gap is cleared, your monk has a chance to come forward, to radiate and expand. You begin to trust and hear your own inner voice again. You rediscover your authentic self, your true purpose, and the quiet inner peace that has always been waiting for you. You rebuild a relationship with your inner values and live with integrity and alignment within yourself. Your monk comes alive, and suddenly life starts to feel meaningful again. In step 3, you maximize the potential of your suit. Now that your gap is mostly cleared, your inner world is aligned. You can build a powerful outer life that truly expresses who you are. You start to live according to your own expectations. This is where you learn the skills needed to succeed in your life, career, and relationships. You learn leadership skills in your career, communication skills in your relationships. And you are living in the external world not by pushing harder, but by showing up as the real you with a nice and strong, polished suit. You are ready to make an impact in the world. Your achievements finally feel fulfilling because they are rooted in your monk instead of hiding it. Most people only ever work on step 3. They spend their entire lives adding new skills, strategies, tools, degrees, productivity hacks, and self-improvement techniques, constantly trying to make their suit stronger, more successful, and more impressive. They believe that if they just achieve more, do more, or become better on the outside, the inner restlessness will finally disappear. But without first clearing the gap and reconnecting with their monk, it never does. When you complete these 3 steps in that order, you don't just feel better, you become whole. Success and inner peace are no longer in conflict. They are aligned and become integrated. You live with internal clarity, peace, and a deep sense of alignment and fulfillment. Your internal and external worlds are aligned, and you can live in the present moment. This 3-step approach doesn't just solve problems. It transforms your entire life into a purposeful, fulfilled, and peaceful journey. And here's the beautiful part. When even one person begins to close their gap, the entire dynamic changes. You stop triggering the other person's gap so easily. A healed mother shows up calmer, more present, and deeply connected with her children, no longer reacting from her own unhealed wounds. A father can finally be emotionally available instead of just providing. A leader with a smaller gap makes wiser, more courageous, and authentically powerful decisions, not driven by ego or fear, but by clarity and purpose. An athlete who reconnects with their monk is no longer buried by pressure, expectations, or tactics. They become free to express their true talent, joy, and flow once again. A politician begins to lead with integrity and real care for people, rather than performing for votes, power, or image. A teacher, artist, entrepreneur, or student starts living and creating from their authentic self instead of performing for approval. This is the new way of living. As you release and heal your individual gap, you create space for real connection, real understanding, and real love. And for the monk to come out, to connect authentically and shine with others, whether that's with your partner, your child, your team, or even on a global level. Every time one person bridges their gap, the ripple moves in the other direction. By aligning your suit with your monk, you don't just find peace for yourself. You become part of a quiet movement. You help create a world where more people live with authenticity, compassion, kindness, and real purpose, one healed gap at a time. And here's what I want you to know. Seeing your gap is not a diagnosis. It's not a verdict on your life or your choices. It is the beginning of something new. Because you cannot close a gap you cannot see. And now, for the first time, perhaps, you can see it. That awareness, right here, right now, this wake-up call, that is maybe the first step. Here's what makes this model so powerful. The SuitedMonk philosophy contains universal principles for every person beyond culture, beliefs, and borders. The SuitedMonk has now partnered with Project Peace to bring this teaching to the wider world. Project Peace is a not-for-profit organization that aims to change the world one gap at a time, to empower individuals to bridge the gap between their external self and their internal self beyond culture, beliefs, and borders. Whether you are from Europe, Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Australia, or anywhere else in the world, if you don't address these gaps, they will keep growing, and the cost to you will increase more stress, more disconnection, and a life that feels heavier than it needs to be. Our experience is that through the application of the SuitedMonk strategies and tools, you'll achieve transformational results that will directly and permanently improve your inner peace, your relationships, and the way you show up in the world. The SuitedMonk philosophy has been taught for nearly 2 decades, and our training and coaching programs have earned the trust of thousands of individuals in multinational organizations and local communities worldwide, and our work has been featured in a number of leading publications. Project Peace is a not-for-profit organization that uses the SuitedMonk methodology to help people bridge their gap and create lasting alignment between outer success and inner peace. If you're financially able and feel called to help spread this philosophy, you can partner with us and sponsor or donate so we can bridge more gaps around the world. If you're financially in a difficult situation, you can still attend the program by applying for a sponsorship. You can partner with us in different cities to bring these teachings to a wider audience. Or you can start a local SuitedMonk discussion group and bring people together to explore the life journey using this methodology. Whatever way feels right for you, we would be truly grateful for your support. Raf Adams is a philosopher and globally respected teacher who has spent decades developing this work. He is the author of several books on the SuitedMonk concept, which have been translated into multiple languages and are now helping people all over the world find the balance between inner and outer success and true fulfillment. If you would like to find out more about this life-changing personal development process, please contact our team for a conversation at your convenience. We would love to explore how we can support you on your journey.